The Arcturian group, Christ's state of consciousness. Dear readers, because today's message comes at a time of holiday activity and guests, we wish to once again, as in previous years, explain the symbolism of the Christmas story in this message. The narrative everyone is familiar with is so much more than the story of one man born 2,000 years ago, because it is every man and woman's story. It is important to understand that the word Christ is not a name, but is a title meaning Anointed One. Many believe that the word Christ refers only to Jesus, who was of such an evolved state of consciousness that he was indeed an Anointed One, but Christhood never has or ever can be limited to just one person. The Christ state of consciousness silently, secretly, and patiently awaits within every person, because it is the reality of their true selfhood as God individualized. Like it or not, believe it or not, every person is destined at some point to remember this simply because it is who they are. Mary and Joseph represent a state of consciousness that is very close and spiritually prepared to ascend into Christ consciousness, but not yet fully there. Being forced to make a long and difficult journey in the late stages of pregnancy represents the difficulties and hardships that accompany this stage of everyone's spiritual journey, because it is a time of being forced to leave behind much that a person has always known and been comfortable with in order to move beyond that which is old and finished and into a higher state of consciousness. No room at the inn represents a person's inability to align with or enter into energies they have spiritually outgrown, people, places, and things they once were in alignment with, but are no longer because their consciousness has evolved to new and higher levels. The stable represents a state of consciousness emptied of duality, separation, and two powers. The Christ cannot be born into states of consciousness that are already filled with materialism and the false beliefs of a third-dimensional belief system. The wise men represent those who are able to recognize true Christ consciousness, regardless of where or when or through whom it may manifest. They are not fooled by three-dimensional and ego-driven spiritual pretenders and false prophets. They are drawn to and seek out those of true Christ consciousness as teachers, honoring them in ways that ordinary three-dimensional thinking does not understand. Herod represents the fear of annihilation that governs the three-dimensional state of consciousness, because Christ consciousness threatens many commonly accepted laws, ideas, and traditions of separation, and also the ability to maintain power over others. The Herods of the world always try to harm, ridicule, eliminate, and kill real truth in whatever form they find or suspect it. In a person or persons, in evolved teachers, teachings, or churches, books, writings, and in ideas that threaten their beliefs and power. Christ consciousness automatically overrides the three-dimensional sense of power and righteousness that so many continue to grasp tightly, because it is the only reality and not subject to concepts intended to block, remove, destroy, or eliminate it, often under the guise of being for your own good. The newborn Christ must be held silently and secretly within until it has time to mature and become strong enough to face the Herods of the world that continue to manifest through governments, self-righteousness, laws, organized religious doctrine, politicians, and even family and friends. Keep your newborn Christ safe within, like a precious jewel that you allow only connoisseurs of jewels, and those able to understand and align with the higher truths, the wise men, to see. If lovingly nurtured, the newborn Christ consciousness will become strong, mature, and prepared to go into the three-dimensional world as spiritual light, serving where needed without fear. Many of you are already there. Blessings and joy to you and yours at this time of celebration, be it Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Yule, Bodhi Day, or any of the many other seasonal celebrations. We are the Arcturian group.